welcome back to Under Pressure. Today is a very special episode because I am very excited to finally have with me Trudy Wycombe. Trudy, we are here at the Power Clean event in Orlando, Florida. PWNA has been hosting a great event, and it's been nice to see you. But here we have Trudy Wycombe, Brad Williams, and today we have a couple things we're going to talk about. But just nice to have you here. I'm happy to finally get this podcast with you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a while in the making.
Oh yeah.
Glad to be here.
Trudy is very busy, doing a lot for the industry, and we are very excited to finally, we've been trying for like a year to get you on the show because everyone needs to hear what you have to say. So I'm very excited to have you.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right. So, and Brad, thank you for joining us once again.
It's all right. Yeah, I'm good. I'm here.
I know. I'm so excited to have Trudy here. Trudy, so you're in the Panhandle. Can you tell anyone in the audience so that if they don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about what is it you do for the industry?
Well, I've been washing for about 18 years. My husband and I owns a pressure washing company, Classic Touch, and it's in Destin area, up in the Panhandle. It's actually Lower Alabama. I don't think you can consider us Florida anymore. We bypassed that. So Redneck Riviera is what the nickname is. So we were washing and I'm getting older, had knee surgery, shoulder surgery, foot surgery, and hand surgery, got the trigger finger from the gun,
Oh yeah.
So Shane's like, you gotta slow down, and I'm hard-headed, I'm not one to sit on the couch, I'm a go-getter. I'm always doing something. So we decided to open a supply store just for our local guys and us, because it's nothing like 7 hours any direction. And, me being a go-getter, couldn't keep my face off any of social media, so we grew. I mean, we've only been in business for about 2 years.
Wow.
And we are trumping a lot of the guys that's been around a long time, but we work also hand in hand with those other guys. We work together. I send business elsewhere. If I don't have something, I'll send it because the contractor needs these supplies to work. So if I don't have it, I'm not gonna make them wait 2 or 3 weeks. I'll find it for them and send them elsewhere just so they can get back to work.
That's awesome. And for anyone who doesn't know, what is that supply company?
It is Panhandle Power Wash Supply. It's in Freeport, Florida. www.ppwsupply.com is the website.
All right.
Trudy, you've gotten quite a reputation for next level service in the industry and getting people what they want. I see the people sharing photos and testimonies of that all the time. It's very cool.
Well, thank you. I mean, I know, being in the industry washing, that if somebody's ordering a surface cleaner bar or ordering a gun, it's because they need it to get the job done. They're not buying Christmas presents, they're not buying winter presents. It is something they need to work. And if they're not working, they're not paying their bills, they're not feeding their families.
Yeah.
So I know the importance of getting it to them as quickly as possible.
And I know that for you, this isn't just a business. You genuinely care about this industry, and that's evidenced by even in the brief time I've known you for probably about a year, maybe a little longer, and just spending time with you, Trudy, I've really come to realize you do care about this industry. You spend, not only is your service amazing, but you spent a lot of time researching, things in the industry, how you can help reduce risk with pressure washers, how you can train them and instruct them. I know you've done a bunch of trainings. So I wanted to talk briefly about the paint issue that we actually just had Bo Giuseppe on. And Bo touched on it a little bit, but I know you're the one who's done a ton of research on it. And yesterday I sat in your presentation, you and Bo did a presentation about this paint issue. So I know we got to hear it from you for the audience. I know it's a huge risk for pressure washers. It can be a lot of liability. They can lose their company. And you shared that story yesterday.
Definitely. Like I said, about 9 years ago, our employees were washing and changed the $5 million house, which was $60,000 to repaint this house.
Wow.
I mean, I was just in shock because, we're educated. We go to the training events. We're certified. We have the newest equipment. We're not pulling a 2.3 gallon out of our, truck and
you got to be you're probably wondering what could you be doing wrong.
Exactly. So we had no idea, and then about 2 weeks later, another house changed. It was like, $500,000 house, and that was $17,000 to paint. So in 1 month, we were liable for $77,000 worth of damage that we had no idea what happened.
Wow.
So that's when I started digging into it. We were fighting the $500,000 house the contractor that built the $5 million house, they took care of it because we did all their washing. They knew it wasn't anything we did.
Mm-hmm.
So their insurance covered that. They repainted the house, so we lucked out on that $60,000 repaint, because that would have devastated our business.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it was just me and Shane, and then we had another guy helping when we needed help. So when the second one came up, I just started digging into it to find out what in the world was happening, and that's what got me investigating this issue, because it crushed me personally. Like, if I hired somebody to do something and they destroyed my home, I would be pretty upset.
Yeah.
So, and that's when I started digging into it, and I had a lot of doors close on me. None of the big companies knew what I was talking about, which they knew it was an issue, but they didn't want to discuss it.
Mm-hmm.
So, it took me 9 years to get my hands on that pigment. Up until I almost gave up. I'm like, okay, all I can do now is just test products, test paints, and tell contractors, what to look for and how to test, and how to protect themselves. I was almost giving up on finding anything until they gave me the pigment, and then I found some information about it, and it was very exciting.
And I know Trudy's been doing extensive research, and when she says extensive research, we're talking like tons of test boards. I've seen them, and you can check out those videos. Like we said in the episode with Bo, they're all online. They're on Pressure Washing Friends. They're in a bunch of Facebook groups. What's the Facebook group that you created for this issue?
It's called Industry Paint Issues. I know there's a couple of them. Mine is the one that's got like almost 3,000 members in it. And I'll update the pictures of different colors, just so contractors are aware that it's just not the blues. Or it's just not the greens. There's purple, there's white, there's beige, there's tons of colors that change. And, personally, I know there's no magenta and white paint.
Yeah.
I know you can mix and put a couple little black bits in there just to, change the white just a little bit, so it's not just a bright gloss, because nobody wants a white glossy house. Somebody might, but I don't. So, I'm still testing, I'm still trying to get information on what pigment. So anytime somebody has a house change on them and contact me, I say, go to the homeowner, see if you can get the color code. The more information I have, the more testing I can do, the more I can narrow it down. I did narrow it down to 2005 is when this timeline started. I tracked it all the way down. The magenta pigment I got my hands on was manufactured starting in 2005. So my timeline was correct. It took a long time to get there, but I got there. And I mean, could you imagine how many houses have been painted with this since 2005?
Yeah.
Most of them.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of exceeding the life of most paint. So.
Right.
So when we talk about the research, I just want to bring up this funny story before we move on to how to try to mitigate risk and all that, because I really want to get to that. But there's a funny story within the research you did. Obviously, she did extensive research, testing all the paint, the products, all that. But there was a funny story in there. Did you go undercover at one point?
I did.
In the journey? So can you tell that story? Because
Yes.
I love this story. We got little spy Trudy out there.
So I went to a local paint manufacturer because I've been testing all these chemicals, so I want to see what they recommended to use on this paint. So I went to my local paint store, and I was in my civilian clothes. I was in my black Ford truck, so no wrap trucks. I was just which is hard to find in my closet. It's like all work clothes.
Yeah.
So even this, I got bleach on it just because nothing I own has no bleach on it.
Yeah.
So I went in there and I asked them, hey, I've got this house. I act like a homeowner. The HOA is going to fine me because my house is dirty and nobody will wash it. And the lady's like, oh, we have no such paint that changes colors. And I said, yeah, I do. It's on my house. And these two guys run out of the office and like, oh, they must have washed it with a mix that was too hot. They just didn't know what they were doing. And me washing for years, I was getting angry, but I had to, act like I was a homeowner. Stay-at-home mom, I don't know what's going on. So finally, I'm like, no, I have pictures of the house. So the lady behind the counter called her general manager, and he said, yeah, there's some of our blue paints that don't mix well with the chlorine. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not an answer. So I'm like, okay, well, what do you want me to use? And they said use Simple Green. So I did that, and I went up to the TChem event, and I went and told the story and showed it, and the Simple Green actually changed the color of that paint. So the product they're telling you to use is actually making the paint fail also. So then after the TCHEM event, I went back in with my PWI, Pressure Washing Institute, with the instructor right on the back and my name on it, and carried in this big board, and I'm like, hey, I said, I was in here about a month ago, and you sold me this product to use on your paint. I said, and here's what it did.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, how strong of a mix did you do it? I said, I've been washing 18 years, I know how to wash.
Yeah.
I said, I followed the instructions on the bottle, and it changed the color of the paint. And that's when I got my hands on the magenta, because it was a new manager in there, and she was taking pictures, and she's like, this is not good. And I said, no. Well, first of all, she said your instructor, and asked if that was necessary in the pressure washing industry.
To have an instructor?
To be educated. I'm like, of course, yeah, unless you want to change your houses.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of damage you can do, you know, in the pressure washing industry if you're not educated.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen just chunks taken out of stucco because people are like, "Argh," and you can't do that. You know, you've got to use common sense and be educated.
And you absolutely have to be. This is a business side of the industry
Right.
podcast, but we can't stress enough how important this issue is, because if you're trying to grow your business, but you're not trained technically the right way, something like this could just kill your business
Exactly.
right away. And so I do want to get into, we'll talk about mitigating risk real quick. First, I want to thank you, Trudy, on behalf of the industry. Thank you for doing all the research and even getting all cloak and dagger so that no one else has to. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
That's awesome.
I know it would have made a great episode for like an undercover show.
I know.
Like-
I wish that Under Pressure could have recorded.
Yeah,
Oh,
under
all right.
pressure, undercover.
I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna go to one of those like spy stores and get a little like pen camera or something. I'll have to
Yeah.
follow you around.
Right, I
in
know, I
costume.
wish I would've had one of those. It was like, to record it, I'm like, kinda hard to hold the board
Yeah.
and hold my phone and like try and act innocent, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, it kind of seems like we're still in like the midst of uncovering some of this and
Yes.
like trying to get to the bottom of what it means and the information. What do you hope to do with all this? Like, where do you kind of see this going?
The fact is, we cannot tell these paint manufacturers what they can and cannot use.
Yeah.
All I do know is, when this happens, the paint manufacturers, the paint stores, the painters are all making money. Us contractors are the one losing money.
Mm-hmm.
The homeowners losing faith in our industry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I went to a job and they're like, oh, I understand you're gonna knock some of the paint off my house. And I'm like, who have you been having to wash your house? Like, I don't take paint off the house. That's
Yeah.
not what I do. I'm here to clean your house, not destroy it. So, the thing that I wanna do is educate contractors.
Yeah.
Show them how to, you know, how to test, what to look for. And my ultimate goal is to make contractors not liable for this. Right now, we are liable. You can put something, a waiver, have them sign a waiver and put it in your contract, we're still liable.
Mm-hmm.
We're the last person to touch that house. And it's crazy because, you know, if you go get brakes on your car and they fail, you're not gonna go after the brake manufacturer, you're gonna go after the mechanic that put them on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing. Now the mechanic has to prove, no, we did it right, the brakes failed, and they have to go after the manufacturer. So we're in that, you know, we're just right here, and we've got to prove, you know, we're not liable. And then hopefully, you know, the homeowners, the painters are not gonna do it because they're making more money, they get paid to paint a house twice.
Yeah.
But the homeowners, you know, the homeowners are the ones that really have to get this going.
Mhm.
I think, when I first started, I did talk to a lawyer in Miami about a class action lawsuit, not for money, just for these paint manufacturers to inform us, you know, which paints, you know, which manufacturers have this pigment, and, you know, maybe expose the colors they use, you know, this pigment in, so we can have a better concept of what we're looking for.
Yeah.
I've been in the dark all these years. I've just been like, hey, let me get this color, but spray it and see what it does, you know? That's all. I've got so many gallons of paint, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, I painted my fence like 3 different shades of blue, because I'm like, I got all this paint, I gotta use it.
So because you're on the forefront of this.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
No, I just was imagining it like I was getting a mental picture.
So because Trudy, you are on the forefront of this, and you have done all this research, can you educate the audience on what are the best ways to mitigate the risk? You have all the risk as the contractor doing the pressure washing. So how do you mitigate that risk?
Well, when you first go to a home, you do a walkthrough. If there's an area on the sunny side that's lighter color, you know, natural elements are gonna break down this pigment.
Mhm.
So if you got an area that's in the sunny and it's just a shade different and you're looking going, huh, I mean, it could be oxidation, but are you willing to take that chance? So, I always test with straight SH behind a bush or an air conditioning. So when I pull up at a job, I grab my water hose, I grab my pump up. I go to the spigot, hook it up, turn my water, find an area, spray it, take the pump up back, turn my machine on, get my pressure washing hose out, look. If it changed, rinse it. If it didn't change, rinse it. If it didn't change, now I continue working. If it did, I turn my machine down, knock on the door, explain to the homeowner what's going on, show them the test spot. And, you know, I wash, where we are in Florida, you know, Bo's like, oh, I teach house class, you know, it's 0.5%. That's in Delaware. In Florida, 0.5% is not taking any of this mildew off. I mean, down where we are, or up we are actually, because we're up now. I'm used to teaching up north. So, you know, where we are, and down here, I'm sure, it's so humid. Houses have to be washed every 6 months to every year.
Wow.
Every year, if we do it annual, they're bad. I mean, the eaves are just covered in mildew. 6 months, we get people that want to do it every 6 months just to keep it fresh, but you have to, and it's bad. It's bad mildew
Yeah.
every year down here, so.
And
you
what
know,
kind of percentage do you guys have to use? Sharon?
we have the Hydra, and we do like a 1.5. 1.5 is like,
Yeah,
if we get a fresh batch, but usually we try to dumb that down, but usually 1%, 1.25. And if it's, you know, sometimes we have to sit and do it twice just at that percentage here. But we wouldn't use anything hotter than that because that's just crazy.
And yesterday, so just want to stress real quick the importance of the spot testing, because it could save you, like in your case, it could save you $70,000 in a job potentially. It can save your business just to do this
Right.
little thing. Do your due diligence, spot test. And yesterday you were saying you could do it as small as the size of a cotton swab.
Yeah, some guys use just a little bottle and take a Q-tip and just touch it and it'll show. I mean, you've seen how quick that blue turned to green when they just put the chlorine on.
Yeah.
I do see people like do a spot check and it's like this big, you know, and I'm like, it's a plate size.
Yeah.
You just need a tiny little dot. Now you gotta paint that. A tiny little dot, you know, will do it. And I'm like, on windows, you know, your window frames, you know, you don't wanna do it on the front, so you do it on the side. Or shutters, you can put a Q-tip and just on the side. Because you're gonna have to test every painted surface. The house, you know, the base of the house, the trim, the shutters, if they're all different colors, the ceiling of the porch, if they repainted that. We just had a couple change on us because they repainted the porch ceiling.
Wow.
And we, you know, test the body of the house, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh man, it's scary.
so maybe this is a step further, but I'm just curious, you know, let's say I'm a homeowner with a house that has this kind of paint on it, or I'm a contractor and I'm running into a lot of houses like this when I'm testing. Are there some other protocols you can use to clean them and without damaging the paint? Are there some alternative solutions?
The only one I found right now is a hydroperoxide based, and it's
Okay.
the Greenox Renew.
Yeah.
The only downfall of that is you cannot downstream it. So it's gonna take your process a lot longer. You have to use a 12-volt or pump up sprayer.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's a lot more expensive.
It is, it's
yeah.
like $30 a gallon. It's
Yeah.
$100 for 5 gallon. A gallon covers 200 square foot if you use it straight. So you get a 2,000 square foot house, you know, you need.
So
tons of that.
as a contractor, should your process be, all right, we'll spot test. If it changes, I'm either not taking the job or I'm gonna have to charge
Accordingly.
Right.
yeah, for this. So it's Greenox, what was it?
Greenox Renew.
Greenox Renew. And is this a product you can find at the Panhandle Power Wash Supply?
Yes, yes, and the good thing about that, before, I carried this product before I knew about it because it cleans wood great and it is marine safe. And where we live, we have a lot of boat docks and you know, we try to comply with all the rules and regulations. So we actually use this on boat docks and just, you know, it's marine safe. And actually had a customer buy a 55-gallon drum because he did the zoo, all the wood fencing around the zoo.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's animal safe too. So, you know, we had it for that, and then it actually didn't work the first time I did it in, I think it was 2020 in March in Atlanta. I did a little event up there, my first event, and it didn't kill the mildew, and it didn't change the color, but it started eating the paint off the board. And I'm like, okay, this isn't good, and they reached out to me and said, okay, we're gonna change something. We've taken a couple chemicals out, we've reformulated, and they wanted me to retest in my event. So in January, I told them, I said, I'll retest, but if it fails, you know, I'm telling everybody, I've got 600 contractors registered for my event. So, and 430 showed up for my first event, which is crazy. But it actually worked. It didn't change the color, it killed the mildew, and the paint stayed on the board this time, so.
That's fantastic.
Yes, yeah.
So if you want to support Trudy and all the great work she's doing, go to your website and go support Trudy. Go buy this product from her so you can show your support. Where do they find this again? What's the website?
It is www.ppwsupply.com.
And you ship nationally, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, everywhere. Same day if you order by 4.
All right.
Wow, that's impressive. That's impressive. And it might be Trudy packing it up because I
It
know
is.
she's in there
It
like
is.
knocking it out. So tell us, I know you have another event coming up and
Yes.
it's not too far down the road.
I know, I've got a lot of work to do.
Tell us a little bit about that for anybody that's in the vicinity that would like to kind of come be a part of it.
Well, actually, we had guys that flew in from Washington State
Wow.
last January, and they got stuck in a snowstorm, so they showed up Thursday at 1 right at the end of the event. I felt so bad. But it is January 18th and 19th. It's a free 2-day training event. We're gonna have some new things this time. I've got a hood vent cleaner coming in, which I don't think there's been a training on a hood vent cleaner for quite a while, a free training event. So that's an add-on business that you can do, especially guys up north, because those restaurants still have to get those hood vents clean.
Yeah.
So you can do that. It's a circuit training, so we're gonna be outside and it's all hands-on. We've got a couple of speakers. I am working on getting the EPA to come out and do some technical speaking for us and just let everybody know the correct way to, you know, get rid of your wastewater. Maybe, you know, have chemicals in it or not, you know, just the rules and regulations, because a lot of guys don't know that. I did my tricks of the trade with the SDS booklet. I made, it was a lot of work. So I printed out all these SDS sheets and made books for them. And people like, I didn't realize you had to carry them. I'm like, yeah, if you wreck and you got these 4 chemicals, they're all mixing together, you better have proof of what they are, because they need to know how to clean it. And the people didn't know that. I'm like, I can't believe you didn't know that. So, you know, I mean, it's something you need on your vehicle. So I'm trying to get that. I've got the women to wash. I'm gonna do a luncheon with the ladies. I'm gonna do something special for the guys so they're not left out. I do have a Power Wash Gals Facebook group also, just for ladies. Just as some things that we need to talk amongst each other. You know, challenges we have that guys don't have.
Yeah.
Like me pulling a 30-foot ladder off the top of a skid is like that's almost impossible for me, but Brad could just go take it off like that, you know.
Show off.
I know, you know, 5-gallon bucket to stand up to even reach it, which isn't safe. So, you know, there's little things like that we discuss that women don't usually discuss in larger groups with the guys, because they just feel like, oh, they're gonna think we're, you know, silly. But
So
Yeah.
where do you find that group? What's that group called?
it's Power Wash Gals.
All right, go check that out. That's on Facebook?
Yes.
All right, so go check out Power Wash Gals.
Yeah.
So I do, because we've talked about this paint issue for a while here, I do want to get to a little bit of, you know, this event. I want to talk a little bit about what you think about this event. So Power Clean has been, they have a big vendor hall here, and there's a lot going on. So I'm curious, Trudy, what have you thought about this event? Do you have any big takeaways from this event so far?
Well, my class got shortened, so I didn't get all the information out there I would like to have, but I know it's you know, everybody gets going and starts talking, and it like I could probably be up there for 2 hours, you know, an hour, but I could keep going and answer questions. It's so much information, and I'm a big fan of any training, just getting that information out there. I do enjoy the exhibit hall because I get to meet all my suppliers. You know, I just met James from Whisper Wash. The first time I met him, I've been dealing with him for years, and you know, he came up and met me, and hopefully he's gonna come to my event in January, and all the guys at AR. So all the guys I know on the phone, I get to see them and meet them, and all the other contractors that come talk to me. So, I mean, I love the networking and just talking to meet people is what I love at any of the conventions. But the training, I always tell people, just if you can get any training, get it, because I mean, you're not gonna, I mean, you can learn for yourself over the years. I mean, Shane and I learned for ourselves because there wasn't all this Facebook out there, you know, it wasn't, you had to read forums, you know, we'll scroll down forums, like, I mean, they're still there, but, you know, so we learned and we started going to free training events, and all the other events, so.
That's the thing. You just said free training events. These events, a lot of them are free, and they're what you make of them. Like, these events can be priceless.
Right.
Whether it's the training, the networking, you can take it to whatever level you want. And so, have you seen a lot of that with younger contractors who maybe you work with and you supply, where they're growing exponentially because they're going to events like this?
It is, and the more they don't know, like, you can add something. When you're going to add gutter cleaning, this is how much you charge. Don't do it for free, because that's liability. You're on a ladder, you're doing gutters.
Yeah.
And homeowners are going to take advantage. Like, oh, while you're here, can you hit all the outdoor furniture? Can you do this? Can you do my pool cage? And it's like,
You're running a business. You
Yeah.
got to upsell.
it's like, yeah, let me get your price on that. I'll be right back with you. But I do see a lot of the younger guys coming in, and I think the free training, and why if they asked me to come here and do a paid class, I would not do it.
Mm.
I will always do my free training, because I'm a big believer contractors need to use that money to buy the equipment, to buy the supplies they need to do their job, so they can better their equipment, they can grow, they can feed their families, they can pay their bills, because bills, gas is expensive. Rent. My 26-year-old son lives with me. He can't afford an apartment, and he works for the local utilities company. He has a great job.
Yeah.
He can't do it. He can't find an apartment, he can't, $2,200 a month for a 1-bedroom, he can't do it.
Yeah.
So, I don't wanna take anything from these contractors, I wanna give, because I am one. And that's me. People call me, I'm like, if I charge for this class, they can call me, I'll tell them everything anyway. So, I can make my own money. I work my butt off to make money, so I'm not gonna take it from them.
That's awesome.
The industry needs more people with your attitude,
It does.
doing the things you're doing. It's a pleasure. I love what you're doing for the space, and the effort you've put in over this paint thing it's huge, and it's not like you're looking to monetize it or gain off of
Right.
it. It really is for the betterment of everybody involved. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And my last question to you, Trudy, while we have you here,
Yes.
I gotta know, what are you excited for? What's the future of this industry? What are you excited for in the near future?
I'm hoping we can get more of the contractors educated. So, I see houses that's got zigzag marks because they used the wrong tip and they've blown stucco off. It's just basic training for these contractors, and we're all on the same level. It's just like, even at the store, the vendor level, me and Manatee, he answers the phone, it's like Panhandle South, and I answer, I'm like Manatee North. We met Jared and TJ when we met you guys at the huge event in last August. So it's been a little over a year, and we are best buddies, and we send each other's customers, and Jared's like, I don't have it, call Trudy. And I'm like, hey, I don't have it, let me call Jared and see if he has it. And that's the difference. He'll like, you call Trudy, and I'm like, I'll call for you. So they're like, I can call. I'm like, no, he'll answer my call. I don't know if you'll get him down there. You might get one of the ladies up front. So, we work well together. John with North Georgia, we work great with them. And I'm hoping more contractors are able to work together and not against each other. Because you can do much better things working together than you are fighting amongst each other.
Absolutely.
Our Classic Touch, our business, us and 3 other guys that are local, because we still have our business, a washing business, so we sell chemicals to what's so-called competitors, but they're not. We all had to do a bid on a high school. So Shane was driving in, he did the bid, came out, and another guy was driving in, Patrick, and Shane's like, all right, you gotta bid this, this, and this. And they're talking on the way they go, and another guy's like, hey, you're bidding today, this is what we did here. So they can all be in the same area. So they had to hire somebody based on their reputation, based on if they did a demonstration spot, like pull out and go, this is what I can do. They get the job based on what they can do, not on the cheapest price, and to bring the prices down. So I just had, actually on the way here, some contractors like, hey, can you help me? And I'm like, what? He goes, I bid this, they want me to do it for $2,500. I'm like, that is a lot of work. I said, do not lessen your value.
Yeah.
I said, I would go back at them and say, this is what the chemicals cost, this is the cost of fuel, this is the cost of my equipment, this is my labor time, and this is what I'm at. And he said, I appreciate that, thank you. I'm like, you wouldn't go to the dentist and say, oh, you know, root canal, do you mind if you could, you know, take $500 off that?
Yeah,
You
right,
don't
yeah.
haggle with that kind of stuff.
You're
so.
looking for the highest standard of work.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing here. You're not, there's no collusion. You're working together to raise the standards of the industry.
So that's my end game in that, just making us not liable for, like, the paint thing, and that's my goal in life. My husband really gets mad at me all the time. We're watching a movie, I'm on my phone.
Yeah, I'm doing more
Answer-
research.
Yeah, answering customers, or, hey, I got this paint thing, okay, hold on, and he mutes it, like, you done? Okay, sorry.
Well, on behalf of everyone watching and the industry as a whole, thank you, Trudy. I want to thank you. And thank you for joining us today to share all this valuable information. Thank you, Brad, for being with us once again.
Anytime.
NationalCleaningExpo.com is where they register for the
Yeah.
free training events.
Now,
And
say that
has
one more time.
NationalCleaningExpo.com. You'll get all the information on the free training events, the dates, and we'll update that all the time on who the speakers are, what the classes are, and everything, so.
Awesome. So go check that out. Go check out Trudy's website. And thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you once again for joining us today, Trudy. I'm so happy that we were finally able to do this episode. And thank you to everyone in the audience for tuning in. We will have a fantastic roster of guests coming up at this event. We've been so lucky to get everyone in the room that we've been talking to over the past couple of years. So I'm very excited to get some fantastic information out to our audience. So keep tuning in, like, subscribe, share, rate, and review. And as always, the most important thing you can do is share this podcast to someone who you think could use this to help grow their business. So send this to any contractor you know that this can help. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.